Let's talk about the basics of how chords are constructed from the perspective of the guitar. We will use some music theory in this, but keep in mind a lot of this is based on convention. So we have naming conventions for chords, and this will be geared towards jazz and contemporary music. I hope you get a lot of value out of this video. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you did, and consider turning on notifications to get updated on new releases and live streams. In music, whether we're talking about modes or chords, we compare everything to the major scale, Ionian. Key of G is one of the easier keys for the guitar, so we'll work with that. And in this position, we have 2 full octaves, and we're close to the open strings. We'll start by spelling out the major scale, and we're using the number system. Root, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7. Generally, chords are constructed out of 3 or more notes that are stacked by intervals. And we want to start by stacking thirds, whether they're major or minor thirds. So let's clear this out, and then we'll go every other note from that scale until we have 3 total notes. So here, root, 3, and 5. So we have a G major triad. So generally, when we talk about triads and adding other tones, we actually use add and then whatever we're working with. So for example, we may have an add 2. Now, typically the 2 is added an octave above the next root note. So we might say add 9 rather than add 2. So we can have an add 4, add 11, which are really the same tone, add 6. So those are generally what you would see. So if we had a G6-9, for example, we might have root, third, 6, 9, and 5. When we add tones, we generally include the third. When we suspend the third and add those same tones, we call it a sus chord. So if we don't have a third and we have a 2, we call it sus2. When we don't have a third and we have a 4, we call it sus4. Now let's talk about chords that include 4 tones. When we have 4 tones, we start talking about lower structure triads. So here we have a G major triad, but we also have a B minor triad, and they share 2 tones. Now once we start including the 7th, we'll refer to all of the tones that are not part of these 4 tones as 9s, 11s, and 13s. So let's check that out. Put a 9 in there, 11, and a 13. Now here's a very helpful way to practice and think about this. What we're going to do is play every other note as an arpeggio. Root, third, 5th, major 7, 9, 11, 13, and the root. So this is a really great way to work at this on the guitar because you have 2 full octaves in this position, and you can work with all of the 7 tones. So we can think of the 9, 11, and 13 as an upper structure triad. In this case, that would spell an A minor triad. So be sure to master the major scale Ionian and really get into understanding each chord tone, how it relates to the root note, and then making those groupings of the 3 or 4 tones of the basic chord, and then the colors that we might use on top of that, the 9, the 11, and the 13. Then you can start working with other chord qualities and altering the upper structure portion that we talked about. Let's take a quick example using the dominant 7th chord. If we want a dominant 7th, we'll change the major 7 to a flat 7. Again, go every other tone. and work up like that. Now if you want a sharp 11 instead of the 11, change that one tone. And here we have an example of Lydian dominant. This offers us working knowledge of chords, chord symbols that you might find on a lead sheet or a basic chord and lyric sheet. Remember to not necessarily think strictly theoretically. There's a lot of history involved with music, and we have naming conventions. So we want to pair those two elements. And keep in mind, this video is geared towards jazz and contemporary music, even current popular music. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and be sure to visit fretprints.com. Have a great practice session.